Thanks for watching the history of the Metro 6R4. In November 1980, grizedale Motorsport decided to retire the TR7 V8, and that's when they began to plan for their first attempt at rallying at the highest level. John Davenport realised quickly that they needed expert help, so he approached Williams Grand Prix Engineering in 1981 to discuss with them designing a new car. The VPHD, very high performance derivative, emerged as a mid-engined four-wheel drive Metro. A suggested front-engine V8 Metro was discounted early on, as the driver was so far back they couldn't see the front of the car. And also using the Maestro was discounted at this stage. Visa regulations required 200 identical cars being built within 12 months to qualify for Group B. And the initial brief for the Metro was an executive 2+2 GT, complete with a rear bench seat. This rear bench can still be seen in the homologated cars, although without a pad, and it would certainly be a deafening place to sit. The Metro combined the four-wheel drive setup of the Audi and a mid-engined layout of the Renault 5 Turbo. The biggest difference to the other Group B cars was a normally aspirated engine, running a much larger capacity at 3 litre than the turbo cars such as 1.6 for the RS200. It was meant to be a much simpler engine with less heat, no turbo lag and good engine braking, giving better drivability and designed to be less tiring for the crew over the hectic World Rally Championship event. The Rover V8 engine was too big for the back of the Metro. So for the test cars, they took that engine and took 2 cylinders out and then welded the block back together, giving them a V6, and then used Rover Vitesse Racing internals and Weber carbs, giving them 250 brake horsepower. In February 1983, a plain red prototype emerged for its first private test at an airfield in Oxfordshire, with Tony Pond at the wheel. Over the next 12 months, testing took place at Austin Rover's Gaydon test track, Cadwell Park, and in the Myra wind tunnel. In early 1984, at London Heathrow, the motorsport paparazzi were assembled for the launch, where Tony Pond entered by driving the car through a film screen, and the team's plans were out. 6 weeks later, the 6R4, which stands for 6-cylinder rally four-wheel drive, debuted at the 1984 York National Rally. It was fastest on 8 stages and had a 3-minute lead until an alternator fire caused the car to retire. Even with the low-power test engine, the potential of the car was plain to see. Development of the car continued during 1984, including widening the track, lengthening the wheelbase, and some extra aerodynamics to get it to its final homologation specification. The final engine, known as the V64V, was designed by David Wood, and it was a 90-degree V6 engine with 4 valves per cylinder. With belt-driven twin overhead cams per bank, it produced 250 bhp in Clubman spec and 380 to 410 bhp in international spec. And it was first, and is possibly still the only engine designed specifically for rallying. The homologated specification was announced to the press at Nebworth House in May 1985, with Tony Pond and Mark Duez taking those invited journalists for a run in the car around a mock stage. One of the changes made to get to the homologation specification was to increase the suspension travel by around 4 inches. This was done really crudely by welding around 4 inches of extension onto the suspension turrets. But this meant the team could run the 390mm Michelin tyres that had been developed for Audi and Peugeot already. The finished package certainly worked really well. The very next day, the car won at the 1985 Autofit Argyle stages, fastest on every stage and winning by over 3 minutes. With the design and specification decided, Austin Rover's next challenge was to get the car homologated in time for its planned debut at the 1985 RAC Rally. Austin Rover took the decision to sell the 200 homologation cars as a ready-to-rally car, which would essentially be sold as a kit without type approval. New owners had to carry out a small amount of final assembly and the car was ready to rally. It was sold with an average forest specification and with a 250 brake horsepower engine. Simply adding harnesses and fire extinguishers and you had a ready-to-go rally car. This point was proven by Ken Wood, who purchased the car, fitted the harnesses, the fire extinguishers and did that small amount of work, and his Golden Wonder sponsorship, and took the car straight out from that Thursday purchase and won at the week. Ken Wood's win in the 1985 Sprint Tyres Trossachs Rally was the first win for a Clubman 6R4 and was actually 6 days before the car was officially approved and homologated into Group B. 6R4 made its World Rally Championship debut in the 1985 Lombard RAC Rally. Tony Pond and Rob Arthur and Nigel Harris alongside Malcolm Wilson. Tony and Rob went on to finish third, a fantastic debut, beaten only by the Lancia Delta S4s, which were also debuting at the event. Malcolm was forced to retire with transmission problems, unfortunately. When the car was announced, much was made of the simplistic mechanical layout, but unfortunately it took too long to cure some problems which should have been eliminated before its World Rally Championship debut, the Lombard in 1985. In the end, the drivers were only able to push the car to 8/10 of its capability in order to preserve it, to make sure that it would actually finish. In France, the RAD prepared car of Didier Auriol took 5 rounds and won the championships on a tie. In the UK and Ireland, the 6R4 recorded its first international rally victory when David Llewellyn won the Circuit of Ireland, and it was clear to see that the Metro 6R4 was the car to have at every level except the top echelon, winning a total of 5 championships during the 1986 season. Back on the World Rally Championship stage, the latter half of the season saw some improving fortunes, as 3 6R4s finished in the top 10 in the Thousand Lakes Rally in Finland. Malcolm Wilson recorded an excellent 4th in the San Remo Rally, and the team clinched the team award on the RAC with 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th positions. But ultimately, the car was too late, taking 4 years to get from the drawing board stage and into competition. 4 years, power levels had gone up significantly and teams had done their best to cure that turbo lag problem. FISA instigated an international Group B supercar ban, taking effect from the 31st of December 1986, due to their concern about escalating power figures quoted by manufacturers and increased use of expensive lightweight composite materials. For 1987, the World Rally Championship Group B cars would be replaced by Group A and Group N production-based cars with a supposed maximum of 300 brake horsepower. The 6R4, and in particular the vast amount of cars still remaining in the compound at Cowley, looked decidedly bleak. Britain, the authorities, the owners and Austin Rover had a problem. Where could the Metro 6R4 be used in anger? After some lengthy meetings, the Metro achieved its first stay of execution when authorities agreed to let the car compete in British national rallies if they were reduced in power to no more than 300 brake horsepower. What was then devised by Austin Rover Motorsports was the Clubman 300, but advertised for the bargain price of $16,000, about 40% of the original selling price. Served 2 purposes. Firstly, authorities would still accept 6R4s entering national rallies in Britain, and also it enabled Austin Rover Motorsport to clear its compound of the largely redundant Group B supercars. During the latter part of 1986 and 87, Austin Rover advertised the cars extensively, and within 10 months they had sold every single car. Back on the stage, with no competitive Group A car, because the Rover Vitesse had also been banned, Austin Rover Motorsport entered Malcolm Wilson in the 1987 Marlborough National Rally Championship, purely as a benchmark to fellow 6R4 competitors. 1987 also saw some major problems for Austin Rover Motorsport. A large number of the crew from the World Rally Championship had been made redundant, theft of a couple of cars, and an internal fraud investigation were too much of an embarrassment for Austin Rover, and the motorsport department closed its doors completely in May '87 after just 4 rounds of its intended national programme. But 1987 also saw Group B cars invading rallycross, with Will Gollop, Michael Shield and Barry Hathaway taking on the Fords, Peugeots, Audis and Lancias. The rallycross cars ran modified engines, some 3.5, some 3.8 litres, but even then they were struggling to keep up with the power of their turbocharged counterparts. Several owners resorted to turbocharging their cars, Will Gollop being the most successful, taking the 1992 European Rallycross Championship in his 2.3 litre bi-turbo 6R4. In late 1987, a group of owners concerned about the future for their cars formed the Rover-sanctioned 6R4 Owners Club in the hope that they could present a united front against all organisers and officials and competitors attempting to ban and handicap the cars out of the sport. As such, for 1988, Rover instigated the SO Metro Super Challenge, a multidiscipline one-make championship solely for Clubman 300 Metro 6R4s. It proved a great success and was designed to find the best all-rounder, comprising not only stage rallies but also circuit races and a single hill climb. By the Super Challenge, but not directly a part of it, was the Metro 6R4 Trophy Race, a supporting attraction at the 1988-1989 FIA Formula 3000 Birmingham Super Prix, a high-profile street race around the city centre. 24 Metro 6R4s blasting around the centre of Birmingham. This car, in this livery, took place in 1988. Tony Pond took the Birmingham Super Prix win in 1988 in his first drive in a Metro since the 1986 World Rally Championship. In 1989, Tony took the win at Birmingham again. Over the years, the authorities have handicapped the Metro 6R4 by various means, reducing the capacity to 2.8 litres, then reducing it to 2.5 litres. In some championships, the car was even handicapped by anything from 1 to 6 seconds per mile, but the car still won. The Metro 6R4 has taken over from the Mark II Escort as the mainstay of British national rallying. What the Escort achieved in the 70s, the 6R4 has achieved in the late 80s. And I have no doubt that the car will go down in the history books as a rally car that was a little bit too late for the World Rally Championship, but maybe as one of the most successful national rally cars to have graced the special stage. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that insight into the history of the Metro 6R4, and if you've got any comments or questions, then feel free to add them in the comments below, and thanks again for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.